The public forum, and just to remind everybody on the public forum begins at conclusion of the business meeting as not part of the meeting. People wishing to testify during a public forum are encouraged to submit their full testimony in writing and summarize their comments at the meeting. Public comment should be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. I would point out that we have given one of the speakers additional time today. And the number of speakers allowed based on the schedule. We've only have 4 people signed up, so I don't think we have any problem with the schedule. But I would ask you to keep your remarks into 3 minutes, unless you're the person making the presentations. So with that, I'm going to call folks up in the order they signed up for the public forum. So Lane Jensen, and why don't I have Alex Hawk come up with you also?
No, I insist. All right, fine. Let me go first, I will. All right. Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
You all know me, I'm sure. My lovely face is back
Say
here
your
again.
name.
I'm Lane Jensen. Of course, you all know me. Well, we've got a problem again, like I brought last month. I'm really getting sick and tired of what's going on, especially over on the line 76. I've moved over to the west side. And, well, we had a problem last night where I was coming home, and here's what happened.
9517, customer needs some help with the 76 line. Okay, what kind of help? The last 76 already had 2 bikes on its rack, and we have a gentleman that needs to get to Tualatin Park and Ride, and it's raining pretty bad. Do we have any extra service? Not available, no. Any other ideas on how we can get there? Well, we can always call a cab if they want to pay for a cab. Thanks for your help.
Now, what really gets me irritated is I pay for my fare. I work over in Hillsborough, so I need that 76 to get home. So when I get home, or I'm trying to get home at Beaverton, I see the bike rack's full. I'm out of options because that's the last 76 of the night, okay, at 10:35 at Beaverton. What really irritates me is that while managers are getting raises, our service, again, is getting cut to the point where I'm not even able to get home because of this issue, because of the bikes. I live 1.5 miles from Tualatin Park and Ride, okay? At night, I don't want to walk along Boone's Ferry under I-5 to try to get home because that's almost pointless and not very safe either. So why am I having to put up with this? That could have been a little kid trying to get on the bus. Or, that could have been a little kid trying to get on the bus, trying to get home as well at 10:30, especially during the summertime. He wouldn't have been allowed on the bus. There would have been a kid stranded at Beaverton Transit Center with no way to get home. How is that fair to the public? Because the bike rack was full. That is not fair to us as riders. We pay our fare. We're the ones dealing with service cuts. Well, you're saying it's all the union's fault, which has been proven wrong in many occurrences. We know this. So why do we still have to face service cuts? We also know that before the service cuts happened, the 76, 78 were scheduled to get more service. Now, who knows what's going to happen? I have to deal with hourly service on Sundays, and on my personal line, the line 36, it's 1.5 hour service. So I have no other choice but to ride my bike on the weekends because the 36 doesn't run. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane.
Ride your bike,
And Mr. General Manager, I understand that bicycles are becoming more and more of an issue because more and more people are utilizing bicycles and trying to get on. And so I don't know what options we're looking at in terms of being able to allow more bikes on racks or different racks or those kind of things.
We have looked in the past at 3 bike racks. We have not found them to be safe or effective. Okay. And so we're still continuing to survey the marketplace to see if there is a better idea that can come up there. And if we could find one acceptable, we'd be thrilled to have three bike racks, but that's probably the maximum. wherever you do get to a point where the bike capacity is maxed out, and that is going to be an issue, for example, on the max lines in particular. One thing I would just note that if this is a repetitive problem, then we do look for ways to respond with a service plan accordingly. Hopefully, the next time Mr. Jensen sees that number bus, that there'll be capacity on the right for his bike.
I can make an objection to that, Mr. General Manager, with all due respect. YCTA in Yamhill County has a safe and effective way of utilizing 3 bike space racks by having it diagonal to the other, and then having this traditional 1 and 3. It's safe. Even if it weren't safe, I don't know why they still have it in place.
If you'd like to submit that plan to us, we'd be happy to respond to it.
Okay.
Alex?
Well, my name is Alex Hawk. I've been riding off and on now for a while. One thing that I'd like to make a comment on is the West Commuter Rail, and about the 76 as well. We made a 20-year commitment or something like that for West Commuter Rail, but it's simply, and it's been proven, it's not cost effective. I've looked at the numbers from Cascade Policy Institute by my buddy John Charles, and he shows that only in any given day, only 800 total or so people ride it. They ride it in the morning and they ride it in the evening. This actually, if you think about it, it causes congestion on Hall and Boone's Ferry Road when the train has to go by, and when the gates arms are still down, when the train is still at the station boarding other passengers. I think a much more effective way for this would be to shut down West and to change that into BRT, again, with its own right-of-way. Because West is not going to improve. I don't see any ridership boosting. It's still costing $20 a boarding ride per passenger for West, and it's just not going to get better. TriMet blames a union health contract for the company going bankrupt, but maybe we should look at West Commuter Rail and see how much it actually costs. Because the cost of West Commuter Rail is incredibly high. We're only charging $250 for a 2-hour ticket on West, but really the actual operating cost is about $20 a boarding ride. So I think BRT and to Wilsonville, if we still need that service, would be much more effective than West Commuter Rail. Another thing I'd like to touch about is the service of Line 12, Barbara Sandy Boulevard. I have a map here from 1996, back when the 44 served locally in King City and when the 95 was still in place. My previous comments last month were that we should just split up Line 12 and have it go from Barber to Portland like it always has been, and then create a 13 for Sandy to between Gresham and Portland. But the time points on this 12 are very good. From my stop in King City, we have a 12 coming at 4:50 in the morning, 5:19, 5:34, 5:44. This is all perfect service. So the frequency of the 12 when it was 12 to Portland was a lot better than it was right now, where we have to take a 94, transfer at Tigard, and then who knows how long the transfer time can get. Alongside the 76 as well, I think service on that needs to be improved to 15 minutes or less. Frequent service, the 76 and the 78, because it is half an hour service currently during the weekdays, and it is hourly service on Sunday. And the 76 and the 94, like I said, I live off of those both lines. And if you want me to use the service, because right now I drive, if you want me to use the service, I think it should be effective and the service should be reliable. 30-minute service and hourly service on weekends with the last bus heading to Beaverton at 6 p.m. on the Sunday. I don't know. I wouldn't use that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate your comments. All right. Hector, I'm going to wait till last. So Darla Sturdy, why don't you come up? I saw you come in earlier. Welcome.
Thank you, and again, my name's Darla Sturdy, and I was here last month. I hadn't been here for a while. I missed a few of you. I was happy to see this today. One thing I do want to bring to your attention and want you to think about is it's always the west side. And you asked the question today, what paper did this go out in? Well, it went out in the west side paper. And he said, and what other papers is it going to go out in? Well, it'll go out in some papers. I don't know who pays for it, if it's just TriMet or if Beaverton helps pay for it. But it would be great to get it out to all the areas in Gresham. This This is safety for the summer, but it also should be safety for the school year. A lot of these kids aren't just passing during the summertime, they're going to school. And so that's one thing that I wanted to say, but this is a great start as far as for safety. The other is, you brought to my attention today on this new system, on the software system. My question is it also going to be attached with the 911 system? Now, they don't call 911, they call into dispatch when there's an accident on the rail, if I'm correct. At least that's what it was with my son. They call dispatch, dispatch turns around and calls 911. So now you're putting a new software system in. How is that going to correlate with calling 911 and how quick we are? So that's just something to think about there. Also, too, after I'd passed the law, and in 2009, they went back and they checked all the crosswalks, and they said that they had to go back and change each of them. They had actually said, as a mandate, down in Salem with Fred Hansen, that every year they would go back and there would be a study done just because everything changes. And I know we talked about it a little bit today in that first part that Harry talked about with safety. I think it's great that Harry talked about the crime, but I think that we should do every month talk about safety, not just the crime, but about have we hit a pedestrian or a car, or what have we done for safety this month? And it should be just like the finances. We talk about where our money's going, how we're going to get it. Each month we talk about what we've done for safety, how we're going to make it better for the public. And I think my last that I wanted to say was that Sunday was 10 years for me. And you know, it is about helping other people. And I have a tough time, but I think you are digging more. I've seen some changes, but I still think that TriMet says safety is number one, and I don't see it as that. So I do hope that in the future that we can talk more about what we can do, and I am happy to talk to TriMet, to the board members, to help in assistance to getting the education out and making it better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Darla.
Thank you.
Question here, I think.
So first, Darla, it's nice to see you. I used to see you quite a bit here. So, and to bring up the 10 years reminds me of how long it's been that we've been talking about this. I wrote down your items because, one, I agree with you on the insert, and before I agree, you know, obviously I'd like to see the cost, but my first thought is this an insert in the Oregonian? You know, it's just so bright and well done. I thought this would be something that would grab a lot of people's attention, not just the west side. So that's something, if we could look into where else could that be going and what are the costs associated, which is an item I don't want to sidestep because that's important as well. The software system, I don't know how that relates to 911, but I think it's a great thought. Or does that confuse the issue? I don't know, but I think it's something worth looking at since it is a new system. And then just safety, I totally agree with you. Why not have something that on a monthly basis we look at to see how we're doing? If we're not doing well, we're obviously going to see it. So, and I think we will, I know we stepped up our efforts at such a higher level in the last few years, and I'm happy to see that, but I think that would be proven as well, and if we did something that was, maybe it's quarterly, I don't know, but I think it's a great suggestion, so.
Well, I think the public, would respect you a lot more in the fact that you're talking about it every month, and that if that's number one, then you're going to talk about it every month. But thank you very much for your time today, each and every one of you.
Yes.
Good morning, I'm Joe Esmond, and
Hi,
I'm
Joe.
the new person, and live in Multnomah Village. I have 3 years in safety experience on construction sites. So, and I too, safety was always number one, and I do know it's hard to change a culture, change human behavior. I don't mean to try, I'm just saying humans in general.
It works
So-
both ways.
So, yes, anyway, I'll be extra attentive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Phyllis?
So I would like to clarify, you said these are going out in community newspapers. Did they only go out on the west side?
I need to get verified.
I mean,
We'll have to get back to you about the actual
I
distribution.
would hope not.
And we'll also look
Yeah.
at, oh, sorry, I'm
Let's
sorry.
get some clarification.
Harry, come on up.
So that would include the Outlook.
Yes.
Okay.
It was not just the west side, it did not go in the Oregon.
Okay, so it went into all the community newspapers. All right.
When did it go out to, when did they go out?
2, 3
Weeks ago? Okay. Then I just
Okay.
heard earlier he had said Beaverton and some other areas.
There would be great concerns if
Yeah.
that were the case.
It would have been nice to go to the Oregonian,
So,
though.
yeah, but Darla, good to see you this morning. Of course, you are from my neck of the woods. And of course, yesterday I was driving on Eastman Parkway and saw the bicycle there at the crossing. So certainly a poignant point of a reminder. Now 10 years of that. Certainly want to thank you for the ever-present press to encourage us to continue to look at safety, at the highest level and maintaining that it be number one. And so, certainly you've got my commitment to that, and I believe the entire board and the staff. So, but again, thank you for being here and continue to move forward that effort, like you said, to help as many folks as you possibly can.
That's right. Because there's someday maybe your grandchildren that are out there, and we just want to make it
Precisely.
safe for all of us. Thank you again very much.
Dara, thank you. We'll follow up on some of these.
Yeah, and if you can follow up on that 911, I may touch base with you next month about that with the software, because we're okaying it, but you want to know what goes along with that.
Good.
Thanks.
I like the monthly reporting or reporting on a regular basis a lot, so we'll do some follow-up on that one. Great, okay, so the last person we have to sign, wanted to speak to us is Hector Osuna from Opal, and why don't you come on up here, Hector, and we do have a copy of your PowerPoint presentation, so we're looking forward to hearing from you.
And Avon, she's going to join me in providing
Okay.
the presentation as well. This is the first time I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation with a paper slide. So.
That's a little easier for us,
Yeah.
so thank you for printing it.
All right. So should I just tell you which slide you should go to? Because I've never done.
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So my name is Hector, the community organizer with Opal Environmental Justice Oregon. Thank you for providing us with, extensive time to provide this presentation today. And so the purpose of this presentation is to talk about the East Portland Bus Stop project that Opal and Bus Riders Unite has been conducting. So if you could please turn to slide number 2, introducing the project. So the East Portland Bus Stop project was a project idea originated from our Bus Riders Unite members. The East Portland Bus Stop project began with a focus on evaluating bus stops east of 82nd and the corridors of Southeast 82nd, Southeast 122nd, Southeast Stark, Outer Powell Street, and Outer Southeast Foster, Outer Southeast Division, and Outer Northeast Halsey. So for the past year and a half, we have been working to complete this community-led project, and during that time, bus riders and Portland State University students helped Opal to develop 2 tools, which both of these tools are also bilingual. Are you a bus rider? Tell us about your bus stop survey and the East Portland Bus Stop Assessment. So we utilize these tools to engage in conversations, educate people about the infrastructure disparities, how we were going to evaluate stops, with the end goal of having the community decide on prioritizing bus stops to improve East Portland. So if you can go to slide number 3 now. So with the help from East Portland community members, we completed our initial screening of over 150 bus stops in East Portland and collected over 220 bus stop surveys in 2012. Our second step was to hone in on the hot bus stops based off the screening. Then we chose to hone in on the hot bus stops with the higher average daily boarding figures from spring and fall 2012 TriMet passenger census data that were in close proximity to community assets such as housing, grocery stores, community centers, medical facilities, libraries, and schools, but with fewer existing amenities and infrastructure. And further, narrow down our list of bus stops clusters to the ones that the community felt more interest. So the result being Northeast Halsey, Southeast Stark, Southeast Powell, and Southeast Foster. And throughout this project, we had an active process of engagement, identification, ground truthing, data collection, and prioritization. So the number one goal of this entire project, or more in particular for the assessment phase, was to have people that were either, one, East Portland residents or riders to meaningfully participate in the assessment and prioritizing of bus stops. Because as you know, meaningful involvement is when people are involved in the decision-making process. So now the next couple of slides, slide number 4 through 7, are basically the individual cluster areas. Slide number 4 is of Halsey, and it includes the name of the participants and also some photos of the specific bus stops that individuals were assessing. Slide number 5 is of Stark. Slide number 6 is of Powell. Slide number 7 is of Foster. And so if you turn to slide number 8, the community prioritization slide. So on Tuesday, May 14th, 2013, at the Rosewood Initiative Building, which is located over in 162nd Southeast Stark, we had our community prioritization meeting in which 50 people participated, and by a voting process, the community prioritized the following 3 bus stops. And now Avon will talk about that procedure.
Of the community prioritization meeting?
Yeah, slides 9 through 12.
Right. So basically what we did was got together, 50 people? And they went through a few rounds of voting where the teams who had been evaluating those stops presented, they're basically advocating for each of those stops, and they were kind of competing against each other. So the community members who came out had the opportunity to gradually vote it down until it came to, basically we ended up with 2 that were the absolute worst. Those were Southeast Powell and 122nd and Southeast Foster and 82nd. And then it came to a tie between Southeast Powell and 127th and the 4th, which was a loser. And, you know, it was interesting because there was a lot of agreement, I think, on the worst stops, but there was also, you know, a certain amount of commentary going on behind the scenes on how many people's own stops were kind of lacking in East Portland. The result being that we've got 2 different situations here. There's the fact that there are a lot of bus stops in East Portland that lack amenities that are essential to their safety. And there's the fact that improving these 3 prioritized bus stops will improve the lives of the East Portlanders who participated in this, and I suspect a lot of others. If you could turn to slide 9 or 10, whichever it is. I don't even know. Right. We have boarding data that suggests that these stops are actually, worthy of some improvements. The problem, right, is that there are various situational factors that make it difficult to improve. So what we're asking for is, prioritize these bus stops in whatever way that you can, right? If you turn to the slide that says, how can you help bus riders? What we need is, shelters at these stops. We need benches to, make people comfortable and also to let them sit if they have health trouble. We need adequate lighting for security and for visibility. And we need sidewalks for protection from motor vehicles and to enhance safe access to and from bus stops. These were the elements that became very apparent for these stops that they needed. These were the things that people checked off on these lists. The three things that we ask then is help bus riders and improve these specific bus stops so that we have a safe and easily accessible place to wait for a bus. 2, be an advocate for riders when you work with other transportation agencies who make decisions that affect our stops. And 3, we would ask you to actually, come out with us. We can schedule something if you would like, a field trip to experience riding the bus in East Portland. What does a typical day look like for someone who lives in East Portland and uses the bus to do all their daily errands? I think the final sort of takeaway message here is that riders, they expressed what their top priorities were, and we think it's important to work on those 3 priorities, but they also identified more widespread problems, and this is something that clearly needs more work if this is the problem that they're identifying. So, in short, last slide. From the bus riders who actually came out to that meeting and from everyone else who participated and who lives in East Portland, thank you for your time and your collaboration and your openness to working on these issues.
Well, thank you for your research and community work on this. Questions? I have a couple questions. Let's see what others have here first.
Just a quick comment. As usual, I certainly want to thank you guys, Opal and Bus Riders Unite, for this, this excellent report and the professionalism that goes into almost everything you do. So this is very, very helpful. I appreciate the dedication of the folks that are on this slide of going out and ensuring that they're looking at all of these things. And as you see, the list of where you started and the list of recommendations, it's certainly something I think as a board member I'd like to see us take into consideration on taking a look at those. And I will certainly take you up on coming out and riding with you. Won't be in the next couple of weeks because I've got a couple of projects I'm finishing up, but I certainly want to do that. Of course, the sun comes out after the 4th. So.
Yeah. Depends. Do you want the full experience?
Yeah, I don't need the full experience. So I will take you up on that.
All right.
I just want to echo the same. And as a matter of fact, here's my business card. And my office is in East County, which I'm never there really.
So here's the card.
I work out of my car, but should be some information. We'll do the email tag, or is that what you call it? Hashtag? No?
I don't even know what.
All right, thank you.
We'll email.
Comments?
Evan mentioned, in addition to the the shelters and that stuff, also sidewalks. Can you, Neil, explain who's, which agency is responsible for what around the bus stops? Because I do know that that's part of the issue.
And I would just, first of all, note that the prioritization of stops for shelters is generally up to us. And so I really do appreciate this information, and we will take a very hard look at it. My hope is that we can implement these improvements in quick time. But to the question, obviously the sidewalks are by the road agencies. Board Member Stovall and I were at an East County forum with a number of legislators and other officials about a month ago, maybe it was 6 weeks ago, and it was clear that, for example, Powell Boulevard is one of the real hot points related to safe transportation for pedestrians in East County. So there was clearly a lot of focus on that. But I'd also note that related to the effort of planning, we have actually been doing some really good work of late, and over this last few months, we actually secured a grant from Metro working with the city, $8.2 million that will go to active transportation improvements, focus on sidewalk and bus stop improvements as well as cycling improvements in East Portland. And that money becomes available, I believe, in fiscal year 16, so it's a ways off, but that means that we should be beginning planning for it now, and these kinds of efforts, which include the riders and the citizens of East Portland, are absolutely essential to make that the most effective investment we can. But again, that's the kind of partnership that it takes between us and the road agencies to actually make these improvements effective.
Right.
And
So appreciate that.
sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I think I was made aware that there's some funding available for Southeast Foster and PAL as well. And so some of these specific bus stops also coincide with some of the grant funding that's going to be actually occurring recently. And then there's potential future funding for 2016, 2017 that, I'm pretty sure that you guys have conversations with PBOT, but, I just wanted to make sure to bring that forward to you guys. So, once these different projects are occurring, that, since there's a sidewalk going in, potentially, a bench, a shelter, lighting would provide kind of that full, amenity thing that people are advocating for and really need when they're standing outside, waiting for the bus, getting poured on, having another shower outside of their home, so.
Well, and I did want to clarify that those areas of responsibility, because it does become difficult, because, people assume, okay, there's a bus stop, TriMet ought to come in and do the sidewalk and stuff, and we're limited in our ability to do that. But your timing is actually very good, because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to the impact meeting tonight, and they're talking about the active transportation plan. So I'll definitely take this and talk about the need for being aware of those bus stop improvements. The other thing, quite honestly, I think it'd be neat if we could see this kind of data from the other portions of our region. I look at these pictures that you've presented, and pictures are always helpful, so that's excellent. Clackamas County, I can show you a lot of those bus stops. And as a former city councilor, as a former city manager, I can tell you, the local jurisdictions hear a lot about the inadequate bus stops. Bus stops, there's no sidewalks, there's just a drainage ditch. There's a lot of investment that this region needs to do, which brings, so A, I'd love to see this happen elsewhere. But B, the other part of it that I really do appreciate, you looked at a lot of bus stops. And I really do appreciate you went through the process of prioritizing and pointing out the ones that would have the biggest bang for the buck. And, and I really do hope that we can move on those three and get them going, because I think it's a good effort, so thank you.
Yeah, if I can just add one more thing. Even though there's 3 bus stops that got prioritized on May 14th, but the 9 bus stops that got taken forward, they're also, of high importance. But we figured that we needed to come out, with a good number to provide to you guys so it can be that can happen. And so, there's all the other bus stops that people were taking a look at and got taken forward to May 14th are also listed in there. And if it's a possibility to also include them in future improvements, it's something that it would be very highly regarded with all the bus riders and individuals that were involved in this project as well.
Just a comment. I really appreciate that you gave us this succinct information, and I appreciate the dialogue that's continuing with Opal. I think that there's been some change in terms of being able to have a dialogue where we can both have some understanding about the work and your advocacy is great, and how we can move forward to support making some of those changes. So thank you.
And I want to second what everybody's saying here. Thank you. And my first home was in Southeast Portland, right out there, so I'm real familiar with these areas. And sadly, some areas, they haven't changed a lot in terms of the sidewalk situation. And others, I know on Powell from about 123rd out, there's no sidewalks. It's just, it's very hard for people to walk down there. So I'm hoping maybe, I don't know whether it's next meeting or meeting after next, you can come back and give us kind of an update after you've looked at this, your assessment of what we can do right away, and maybe some of the other things that we can work on to help address some of these issues. But this is exactly what we needed in terms of just your help. So this is good, thank you, and I know this is just the first wave, I'm sure, of things that you're gonna want to bring to our attention. So appreciate your effort. Please pass on to all those involved that the board is appreciative and wants to help in this area. So thank you. We'll get a report back, and we'll make sure that you get notified when that'll be, so we can have a little more dialogue about them. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I was just going to note that some of the projects that Mr. Osuna was noting are actually STIP applications that TriMet has put in place with partnering jurisdictions, usually ODOT or the city of Portland, whoever is there. There'll be public hearings on those projects, and we hope that there are some strong voices advocating for those pedestrian improvement projects within the STIP process itself over the next year. That's a prioritization process that goes on statewide. And I think there's a lot of energy to do that, so we appreciate those voices as well in that area.
Good. Well, thank you for coming and presenting us. Appreciate it a lot. I have nobody else that has signed up to testify under the public forum. Is there anybody here that didn't sign up but wishes to speak to the board today? Okay.
If I could make a comment.
Please.
I just want to say what a great job the TriMet and all of TriMet has done out in my neighborhood. There's a large construction project, or seems large. Seems like it won't ever end, in Multnomah area. And it's a very tight area, 44, 45, and 64. Navigate very, very well, very patiently. Now that I'm a board member, you kind of look a little, oh, okay. If you just pass that on to whomever, I would appreciate it as a board member.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our business here today. Thank you all for coming. And welcome, Joe.